What's up, everybody? Welcome to Practical Theism. My name's Josh. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most popular yet self-destructive ideas in modern culture, relativism. You've heard it before. That's true for you, but not true for me. There's no absolute truth. Morality is just a social construct. Look, it all sounds nice, like, a big, warm, intellectual hug that makes everyone feel good. But here's the thing. Relativism completely collapses under scrutiny. And today, we're going to break it down. First, why relativism is so popular. Second, why it's completely self-defeating. And third, how to respond to it in a way that actually makes people think. All right, let's get into it. I've been thinking a little bit lately about a little fact that actually ties pretty interestingly into today's topic. Did you know that the phrase, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, was originally meant to be sarcastic? Yeah, it was never intended to be motivational. It actually came from a 19th century physics joke about how it's impossible to lift yourself off the ground by pulling on your own bootstraps, which brings us to relativism, because in the same way, you can't literally pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, and you can't logically justify relativism. It collapses under its own weight. So what is relativism and why is it so popular? Relativism is the belief that truth, morality, and even reality itself are subjective, that they depend on your perspective, culture, or feelings. Now, there are two main types. There's moral relativism, which is the belief that right and wrong are not absolute, but depend on cultural or personal opinion. An example of this is you think stealing is bad, but that's just your opinion, man. Epistemological relativism is the belief that truth itself is subjective. Example of this is that there's no absolute truth. So why is relativism so popular? Because it lets people do a couple things. Avoid confrontation, because if all truths are valid, nobody has to argue. It allows you to escape moral responsibility, because if morality is subjective, then nobody is really wrong. It also sounds enlightened and progressive, because insisting on truth being seen as intolerant and narrow-minded. Basically, relativism allows people to do whatever they want without any consequences. No wonder it's popular. But just because something is popular doesn't mean it makes sense. So I think there are three big problems with relativism. First, relativism doesn't have just a few flaws that make it completely untenable. So let's break it down. The first problem is relativism is self-defeating. The biggest issue with relativism is that it refutes itself. Take this classic claim. There is no absolute truth. Is that statement absolutely true? Well, if yes, then absolute truth exists and relativism is false. If no, then the statement isn't true, so we can ignore it. Boom. Relativism just self-destructed. Or how about this one? All truth is relative. Okay, is truth also relative? Because if it is, then we don't have to accept it. If it's not, then at least one absolute truth exists, which means relativism is false. So you see the problem? The second you try to defend relativism, you destroy it. Even Bishop Fulton Sheen called out the absurdity of this when he said, moral principles do not depend on a majority vote. Wrong is wrong, even if everybody is wrong. Right is right, even if nobody's right. Now, problem number two is that nobody actually lives like a relativist. I've seen this all over the place. You probably have too. People say they're relativists until reality hits them. Try stealing somebody's wallet and telling them, hey, theft is only wrong for you, but for me, it's just self-expression. Or if somebody says morality is just a social construct, ask them, so was slavery just a cultural preference? Suddenly relativism appears. The same people who say truth is relative get furious when someone lies to them. The same people who say morality is subjective demand justice when they're wronged. The same people who say all perspectives are valid get offended when you disagree with them. People pretend to be relativists when it's convenient, but when life gets real, they drop it. As C.S. Lewis put it, a man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line. Now, problem number three is that relativism leads to moral chaos. When society embraces relativism, here's what happens. Morality becomes a matter of opinion. Murder depends on how you feel about it. Number two, justice appears. Laws, well, those are just social constructs. And number three, the strong dictate truth for the weak. Might makes right. History proves this. The Nazis justified genocide because they made their own truth. Slave owners justified their actions by saying morality was subjective. Communist regimes like Stalin's Soviet Union killed millions because truth was whatever the state said it was. When objective truth disappears, power takes its place, and whoever is the strongest gets to decide what's right. As St. John Paul II put it, a democracy without values easily turns into open or thinly disguised totalitarianism. That's why relativism isn't just bad philosophy. It's actually dangerous. So how do we respond to relativism? Step number one is we got to ask the right questions. When somebody says there's no absolute truth, respond with, is that absolutely true? Watch the brain short circuit a little bit. Do you really live that way? Ask if they'd be okay if their boss paid them $1 instead of $1,000 because money's just a social construct. And if morality is relative, why do you care about justice? Ask why they protest injustice if right and wrong are just opinions. Step number two is you got to stand firm in truth. Relativism thrives on confusion and social pressure. If you want to defeat it, you need to have a solid foundation. Read the scriptures and the catechism. You need to be thinking clearly. Study St. Thomas Aquinas. He's the GOAT when it comes to logic. And you got to have courage. Truth is unpopular, but it's always worth defending. If you made it this far, congrats. You just earned an honorary degree in Smashing Bad Ideas 101. But if you like this video in all honesty, share it, hit that like button, and pound that subscribe button like you mean it so you get more of this awesome content. And until next time, remember, saying there is no truth is like saying words have no meaning while writing a 10-page essay. Don't be that guy.